Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another pinball repair video for you today. If you saw our first video on this Gottlieb's 1956 Derby Day pinball machine, then you saw us work on the playfield, which we are actually still in the middle of doing, but we're starting a second video anyway because we can edit it together later. But we're just starting to work on the electronics, and we wanted to document some of that stuff because we don't typically get a game this old in. So we're going to get this sucker up and running and see what all we're missing and what we need to order and all of that good stuff. So it's going to be typical, like most of the games. You just got to clean a lot of switches, make sure everything's moving right, make sure there's no missing parts, make sure there's no missing, burn up coils or anything. And then we're going to have to rebuild the flippers, of course. So we're going to get started on this. The first thing we have to do, though, is we have to replace the power cord. Now, this is an old power cord. It may be the original one. Well, it's probably the original power cord. I don't know if the end's original. But typically I don't have a problem with these. If they're still in good shape, you can keep them like this. A lot of people say, oh, it doesn't have a ground. But really, the inside of the cabinet's not set up for a ground anyway. So if you've got one and everything's in good shape, you're good. But this one isn't. This one, when the cord goes down into the cabinet down there, can't really see it, but after I cut it out, you'll be able to tell. The insulation's wearing off of the cord, so basically you've got bare wires that can touch and short things out and cause big problems. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut that old cord out, and then we're going to wire in a nice new one down to where that one was. So this is with the playfield lifted out so you can see what we're talking about. Look at that. If that wire touches that wire. So here it is out of the machine. The part that was inside had tape on it. And this was the part going outside. The part going outside was all still in pretty good shape. But it was down inside of it that it was all deteriorated and messed up. So what might have happened was this may be the original cable, and then they spliced in a good one. But we're splicing in a whole new one, soldering in a whole new one. We're going to do it the right way. So I'll get that. Okay, so we've got a nice long 3-prong cord coming out of it. Now on these old pinball machines, they were not grounded. They just didn't do that back then. So we brought it in, and we just cut the old one off and left it in the bundle because it's hard to pull that all the way out. And we zip tied the new one to it. The white gets hooked up where the neutral was on the other one, and then the hot, of course you want the hot to go through the fuse. So the ground we did not hook up. The way to ground the whole thing would be you would attach the ground to the transformer and then run a wire from the transformer to everything metal on the game that you might touch. Kind of overkill on a wood rail in our opinion, but we left the green wire there in case somebody feels froggy in the future. So nice little clean install of a new cord, and the next thing that we need to do is start cleaning everything while we've got the playfield out of it. So we're going to go through and clean all of the switches, see if we run anything into anything weird. I can tell you this, the things are all filthy. It doesn't look like they've been cleaned in a long time. So basically we're just going to use a pretty much worn out file and clean off the contacts. If they're not too dirty, you can use like a, you don't want to use a really sharp file because you'll eat away the contacts. And if they're not too dirty, sometimes you can just use like a business card or a piece of paper or something. But basically we have to go through and get every contact touching when it goes one way and opening when it goes the other way. Clean everything, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll have to do the same in the back. But, yeah, that's next. So I don't see anything broke. If we run into anything broke or obviously screwed up, I'll film it for you. Okay, so there was nothing really all that messed up on it. They're just all need cleaned. So we turned it on and it popped up with a couple lights. So we have a score of 7,060,000 right now. So that's all a good sign. So apparently our cord is working good too. That's good. So I'll slide it out and we'll start on the back. This is what the back looks like. Very sparse. So you've got a bell, And then you've got 3 relays, the M, F, and N relay. And then you've got a little stepper unit here, which I think is doing the scoring. You have this huge stepper unit over here, which I have no clue. I have never seen something like that. That looks like something that you might see in a bingo machine. And then you've got a credit wheel assembly here, which is pretty complex. There's a coil, a second coil, a third coil. So we've got 3 coils and a set of switches, another set of switches. So we're going to have to look into all that and see what's going on. But I think what we'll do is we'll actually pull the, we'll see how to, I think maybe this whole thing hinges down, and we'll see how to get the back glass out too while we're at it. Or maybe that, I kind of just want to see what's on the front of this. So I'll see if I can get that off so we can see what's going on with that, because I need to see if the coils are all right. They look like they are. And see why there's 3 of them instead of just 2 like usual. Okay, so I checked out the schematics and it explained the mystery to me. So I don't know how common these are. These might have been on every freaking one of them in the 50s. I don't know, because I don't have one. This is the only one I've got. But there are 3 coils. You've got the subtract replay coil, which of course, you know, most of those credit units have one that goes up and one that goes back. So this one has the one that subtracts it off. And then you've got an add 1 replay coil, which probably tips you off to what the other one is. So the other one is a add 2 replays coil. And the way it works is it has something to do with the A sequence unit, the B sequence unit, the C sequence unit, and the D sequence unit. So I think on the play field, which we haven't even looked at really yet, but you know, you've got 4 horses that are running a race, and you've got these stepper units. So it looks like whenever you get all the way around, you get 2 replays. Let's see if that's the only thing that you have to do. So to add 2 replays, you connect through the sequence unit, and then there's a switch on the motor. Whenever the motor turns, it gives you the credits. I don't see how it is powered though. Oh, it's powered through this other motor switch. Okay, so yeah, so if you look on the actual replay unit, and there's our beautiful back glass, the back of it. Needs a little work, but not too bad. So you can see we've got 3 credits right now. So this top one is a subtract one. So whenever the wiring tells it to come in, it pulls in and it takes off 1, right? And then you've got this one on this side, this kind of smaller one. And when it pulls in, it gives you 1 credit for 5, right? And then you've got this huge one that we'll call Big Papa, and it's grabbing this big arm underneath. And so when Big Papa pulls in, two credits, people. That's what you want, is 2 credits. Very cool. All right, so we'll clean this up. We'll clean it up so it actually looks good. We'll you know, check the switches. So your switches are always similar. There's a rod right there on the gear that spins around, right? And that rod can hit these switches over here. And so when it hits the switches here, so like right now we've got 11 credits or whatever. If we subtract them all off, you see how that rod spins around? Well, eventually it's going to get up here to this switch and open it up. So when it opens that switch, it may not be adjusted right. I think it's got the switch open, but to properly adjust it, it should open that switch. And when it does, because you're on 0 credits, the game will no longer start because the switch is open, right? So the power can't run through it. So as soon as you add 2 credits with Big Papa, it the bar moves and the switch goes back together. Right? So see how the bar is not on the switch anymore? Now it works the other way too. So if you add tons of credits, and let's say you're really racking it up, and you are the greatest pinball player that life has ever seen. Whenever you get all the way around, the bar hits a switch on the other side. And so it opens the switch on the other side, which makes it where you can't win any more credits. So it looks like it stops at 26. It can give you 26 credits. And so once it gets all the way over there, it opens up the other switch, which kills the circuit to any of those coils so that you can't possibly win any more credits. So you need to adjust those switches and make sure that's all right. And then this one here, the add 1 credit one, has some switches here on the bottom. I don't know what those are for, but there's this big plate here that opens one of them, and it looks like it's supposed to hit the bottom one too. Yeah, there we go. So this plate opens one, and then opens the other, back and forth, back and forth. So I'll have to figure out what that is too, but we'll get that all cleaned up and get that all working. Here's a picture. Here's the back side of that huge unit. I'm thinking that's probably the thing that makes the lights go around for the horses. Not sure, but we'll figure it out here shortly. But we'll clean that up and we'll see what it looks like after that. All right, so we got it all cleaned up and we've got it stepping and doing like it should. So you can see you'll see the wheel turn the back side of it. So you should have it like that where it moves very freely. And then this reset one up here, when you pull it in, it should subtract 1 off each time. And then this one, when you push it, it should move very freely. So you want it where all that's doing its thing, just like any stepper unit. Now this one was still working great. That one was still working great. This one was real sluggish, and so we let's see what I did with it here. Here we go. So we changed the sleeve out. So on a lot of those original coils, I guess on all of them, they had a brass sleeve like this. And so what somebody had done is they'd oiled it, thinking, you know, the metal plunger going through the brass sleeve, so they oiled it. That always scares the crap out of me because you'd think it, you know, it might catch on fire depending on what you oil it with. But so the oil or whatever it was, it might have been WD-40, had got all gummy over the years, and so we took the sleeve out, put a nice new nylon sleeve in it, and then wiped all the grease off of the plunger, and that made it where it moves really good now. So after we did that, of course, we were able to adjust the switches. I don't know if that's bright enough that you can see it, but the bottom switch is open when that's down, and then when it pulls up, it closes it and opens the top one. So they go back and forth. I don't know what those are actually for, but I'm sure there is a great reason that it does that. And then another thing we did was we put it on free play. So we were talking about, I know you can't see this, it's got to be too dark, but that rod where it goes around and opens that switch, we just made it so that whenever you get all the way to the 0 position, the rod, we bent the switches so that they don't open. And you can see I've got grease all over me from working on it. But with that said, I think that whole unit is fine now. So our next one that we're going to do, I'm going to look at this little one here, and we'll check that out. I've already loosened it up, so we can look at the back of it and see what's going on. So it's a stepper unit. The coil pulls in over here and just makes that spin around. And as it does, the little pins touch the little rivets on the board and make something or another happen. So on the back, this plunger pulls in, moves that in, and so they've got 2 switches on it. One of the switches over here gets opened as that side of the thing goes down, and then this one here actually closes as the plunger goes up. So it kind of goes back and forth on those two switches. So it's just the same thing. Just clean them, get everything working good. You don't even really need to know what it's for. Like, I have no clue what it even does, but we could look it up, obviously. And then, of course, we're going to clean the rivets so that it glides over this well. And we always put like a little bit of dielectric grease on it so that I think it's dielectric grease. Look it up before you do it, though. But basically, it needs to be conductive because you get the metal touching the thing. Well, you'd think the grease, I believe that grease actually conducts and insulates at the same time. As crazy as that sounds. But anyway, it's the right stuff for it. So they make a special grease for this stuff when we've got that. So we're going to clean all these rivets up and grease that and make sure that every time that plunges in that this moves forward. Now it only moves one way because it's only got the one plunger. So there's none to subtract off of it. It just keeps moving in the same direction. So we'll get that all cleaned up, and then we'll move on to this big, huge one and figure out what's going on with it. Okay, folks, so we got it all cleaned up, and I wanted to show you one little thing. On the bottom of this is this little bar here, and that swings like that every time the coil goes in. The purpose of that is it was supposed to hit a bell that hangs on the bottom of it. And if you look really close, right there, you can see some marks on that little slot. That's where the bell was mounted. So for whatever reason, the bell's missing off of this thing. It's just like this one. It's a 3-inch bell. So it's just like that, but this one's hit by a plunger, and this one's hit by this thing every time it pulls in. So that little bell that hangs on the bottom, it's just that little bell there, it just bolts on. There's just a screw that just holds it in place right there so it can slap the side of it. You can actually get those bells from the Pinball Resource, so we're going to order one of those. It's only like $7 or something like that, and it'll, I think this one is every time it makes 10,000 points, it hits that, and this one is every time you make 100,000 points, it hits that. They're probably going to sound really similar, although that one's a plunger hitting it, and this one's a piece of metal slapping it. They'll probably sound pretty similar, but I don't know if you can change that by putting a little tape on it or what. But we got to have our bells, people, so we'll put the bell back. We'll order the bell, and whenever it comes in, we'll put it back on. But I'll go ahead and mount that back. While I was at it, I cleaned these little relays are real simple. They just pull in and it makes contacts touch together. A really neat design. Those were real easy to clean. So I'll put that back together, and then we'll pull this off and look at it. I think this unit, by the way, is the 100,000 point unit, I believe. This is what the back of that huge stepper unit looks like, and it's just, that's all it is. It's just a huge stepper unit. So you got a coil over here, but we still need to mess with it, but and it does its thing. You've got the same situation. You've got a little thing here that opens a switch or closes one or whatever, and then you've got some switches over here. So I mean, it's just basically an oversized one. So I think this one does the 100,000 points, and I think that one does the 10,000 points. So we'll finish cleaning it up and put it all back together. One thing I was going to mention, all of these little plugs down here, not all of those are supposed to be plugged in. You plug in a few of them to make it, it's the like when you win a free game and all that stuff. So I'll have to find that list that show. I think it's supposed to be stapled to the side, but there's a little sticker that shows you how those are supposed to be plugged in. So I'll have to get my hands on one of those. So we'll finish this up, and then we'll move over to the playfield. So fast forward, and we've been working on the bottom of the playfield. Of course, we put it back in the machine. We cleaned the Jones plugs, put them back. You've seen us do that in other videos. There's really nothing all that different about this than all the other ones we've done. It's just a little older. There's a ton of lights on it, obviously, because of the thing on the playfield. And it's got these really neat little old school relays. See, these are really old, so instead of having blades on it like this, that's how your typical relay looks. It's these little shorties, and they come in, and these two little fingers just touch the The other ones, now I don't know, people may tell me I'm wrong, that I've seen these a lot, but those look really reliable, man. I'll bet those things work for forever. And we had to order a bunch of flipper parts, the coils even, because the coils have the brass sleeves in them. We couldn't even get the sleeve out. It started destroying the coil, so I've just got them rigged up now so they don't hang under the playfield. They won't work the way they are right now. But we ordered those parts for it. Everything else was in pretty good shape. There's 4 big stepper units down here on the bottom. That one's a little frayed. I might have to mess with that wire a little bit. Get a better connection on that. There's 4 stepper units for the 4 different horses. And they're just simple little, I think it's 8 position stepper units. So this coil resets it. And then this one, every time it pulls in, it steps it up 1 step. It can only go 8 steps. And if you remember on the playfield, there's 8 positions around to winning. So, and there's 1 for each horse. Those were just simple, same as normal. There's the 4 dead pop bumpers at the top, and then there's the 2 dead pop bumpers on each side. Replace those. And then there's this big trough in the middle, one of Gottlieb's famous gobble holes. So the ball falls in the hole, and rolls back down, hits a switch on its way past, so that it knows that it happened, and then lands in the trough. But everything is real straightforward. The only thing other thing that we had to mess with was, if you look on the schematics, the rollover button light. So the way it lights up is through the, if all 4 of the horses are ever in the same spot. So when it starts, I don't know if it would do it at the very beginning, but if all 4 of the horses are at the same spot, so let's say they're all on the 4th position, 4, 4, 4, 4, it connects this line all the way through, right? So it's getting power all the way through, and notice it won't do it if one of them's off. If one of them's at position 2, it'll break the connection. It'll connect this light all the way through, and it'll hit this, it'll light up the rollover button light. And then it also, the special when lit rollover button, so that's the switch. If you hit the rollover button, you just connected this wire through that button that you just rolled over to here. Boom, 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 boom. Through the sequence unit. I guess, is that how that works? Am I reading this right? What does it do when you hit it? What does it do, people? Oh, right above it. So you connect through all the positions where they are, through the button that you just rolled over. The light is already lit up. It lights up the light, just so you know. Through the button, and then it, bam, it hits the F relay. So the F relay over here is the replay relay. So you get a free ball. So if you hit the rollover button while all of the horses are lined up in the same spot, you get a free game. That's pretty cool. But what I was going to show you on the schematics was that light is over here on the solenoid side. So instead of making it where you put like a real high voltage light bulb in it, they put a big resistor on it. So it basically knocks the voltage down so that you can use a regular light bulb on it. So that resistor, it says in the schematic 75 ohms. This one was 100 ohm. It looked original, but who knows. The one of the leads had broken off and blah, 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 blah. So I looked around and we had a 120 ohm. So I think all that's going to do is make the bulb a little dimmer, which is fine. But it connects over to the power. This black and white wire that's on the flipper coils runs to all kinds of stuff, all of the solenoids basically. And so it connects from that down to that light bulb that lights up that rollover button. So I guess we're to the point where we're just going to see if she'll start up and do anything, electronically at least. We still got a lot of cosmetic stuff to do. Here are our flipper parts we pulled out. So our problem was I was trying to get those brass sleeves out on the flippers, and the whole thing's falling apart. So I had to order brand new coils. So I put in new coils, which I kind of hated to do that because it's like 14 bucks a coil, and these coils were fine. It's just I don't like leaving those brass sleeves in it. I like putting a new nice nylon sleeve in it. And then we also got new flipper plunger links. You can see how this one was so elongated. This one wasn't as bad, it was still round, but this one was so elongated that it had a lot of play in it. So whenever you would hit the flipper, it would move a little bit, which loses you a lot of your power. So these are very inexpensive. These are actually metal. I think those are original. These are very inexpensive, $4 or $5 each. These were like $14 each, something like that. Well worth it. So I'll show you here in a second that the flippers are working great. But first I want to show you that light that we were just looking at on the schematics, and how clever it was that they used the solenoid voltage to light it up. Okay folks, so we did do a lot of that cosmetics we were just talking about, and we've about got this thing ready. I'm going to show you that light that I was just talking about, but first I wanted to show you, look at our nice shiny bell. What do you think about that? I wonder if I can hit something and make you hear it. Okay, so watch the slapper, the clapper. So, we were just talking about the light, that light. I think I messed this up because I just moved that one all the way up to there. We were just talking about how if all of the horses are in the same position, you know what, let's start a game. I'm going to start a game just so that we, oh, we're on free play. I'm going to start a game just so that I can show you the, I'll move some of the lights around and stuff so I can show you how some of it works. So it dropped all the balls. Oh, pushed 2 of them up. That's not good. Haven't completely figured that out yet. Sometimes it pushes 2 of them up. And you can hear the ball release coil is holding in until you score something. So as soon as you score something, that lets go. So basically on the schematic that we were just looking at, if ever you have all 4 horses in the same spot, on the solenoid side it lights up that light in the middle, right? So we'll try that. So the way you advance the horses is you hit these little targets. So the first one is showing now, second one's showing now, third one is showing now, fourth one is showing now, and it lit up the light. So whenever you hit that, you should get a replay. Let's see if we do. 2 of them. Very nice. So that must have hit the big Papa one, right? Let's try it again. No, just 1. Might have to look into that. But working pretty good. But yeah, whenever we started it up, we didn't really have any problems. Everything was working good after we had cleaned it. So it's just a very simple game. You hit start, it resets a couple things, it drops all the balls out. One of the interesting things about this, I'll just shoot a game real quick. Oh, and the flippers are fine. They're actually fairly strong for a old game, you know. I mean, the flippers are pretty decent. We'll play through our balls here. That's balls played number 3, right? So we'll shoot number 4. All right, we're looking at this bell again, okay? This is the kind of crap you run into. Okay, look real close at the plunger and how it never actually hits the bell. See what I'm saying? The noise you're hearing is the thing slapping the bottom of it. So this is what the sound we should get. We ought to be getting something like that. Alright, so that's our 4th ball. Right, so this is our last ball. So I'm going to show you what pinball was like in 1956. Okay, so balls played is that's number 5, right? So you know, you have to hit this to lift them up into play. But there's no balls to lift up into play because they're all down there, right? So I can't play it, and I can't score anymore. So I've got 1,320,000, but the playfield's still active. So you could, there was no game over relay. So back in the day, like if you went in a place that had a pinball machine, you could walk over and hit the flippers and everything, and the playfield's still completely active. You know, but there's, with the glass on, there's no ball, so you can't do anything. So all you would have been able to do is just hit the flippers. But that is so strange. So the only way you can play it is if you put a nickel in. You'll drop those 5 balls out, and then you have 5 balls to play, and it'll reset the score. So that is really cool. I like the way they designed them back then. Pretty cool. But that is it for our electronics, and you've already seen our cosmetic video, or our 2 cosmetic videos. I hope you enjoyed us working through some of the schematics and getting it up and running again. And if you have any comments, put them down below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you and bring you along for the ride. And we'll see you on that next video.